We're going to take a look at a dual 510 belt drive turntable. This one here is making a loud humming sound that's both emitting from the turntable as well as being picked up by the tone arm. So let's see why it's sounding really bad. Here I have a dual 510 turntable. This is one that I had in a while back, and we put the mod on the motor. This is one of the ones that had the bad motor that would start at the wrong speed, and client got that little module that he bought off the internet that slows it down so that it doesn't start up fast, and apparently it's got a problem. So let's see what happens when we start it up. We don't need to play anything. That motor's chattering, so I don't know whether the module has failed, but it's certainly making lots of noise that's transmitting into the record. You can hear it. So, I guess we have to investigate and see what failed. Could be that little module that he purchased for, I forget how much it was, I think it was like $50 or $60, but it could be that little module that has been added to the motor to get the motor to play nice and start up at the right speed has gone bad. So let's pop this one apart. First things first, I always remove the stylus before working on any of these units because I don't want the stylus to get damaged. So we'll just put that out of the way so it's protected, and we'll lift the actual mechanism out of the base. So to loosen the mechanism off, I just undo the screws so that they're loose. That way I can flip the chassis up and this is what I think probably has failed, is this little module. This is what was added to get the SM840 motor, which is what this one has. This is one of these defective motors that starts at the wrong speed. This little module was added. Haven't opened up the module to see what's in it, but it has some active circuitry. And what it does is it alters, I guess it alters the power going to the motor initially to allow the motor to come up to speed, and then locks it in. And it probably does it with diodes and maybe some MOSFETs to limit the amount of current getting to the motor until it has time to spin up to speed and then applies full power. Like, that's how these things operate. And it's probably latched in the startup mode, which is more than likely feeding it DC through a diode, so that the motor doesn't overspin. Because what happens on these motors is that occasionally when they start up, the motor would spin up to twice normal speed. And the SM860 was the replacement motor, but these SM840 motors were very problematic. As I say, this company came out with these little modules that's designed to slow the startup of the motor so the motor starts at the correct speed. I can feel the motor when I'm turning it on and off with the power switch here. I can feel the actual motor is vibrating. A sneaking suspicion that's the fault, as you'll see. I bet you if I disconnect the module, the motor will start up fine, but there's a good chance it's going to start up at a much faster speed. So I'm just going to disconnect the module. Can verify that that's what the problem is. It's just held on with 2 wires or 3 wires. There's a neutral, and then there's power in, and then there's power to the motor. So if we open up the power box, it's pretty simple to take this thing out. So to remove this module, all you gotta do is just cut the wires, cut off the white wire and the green wire here that's going to the motor or to this module, and connect it to the black. So normally there was a wire in place here from the switch over to here, so all I need to do is just basically replace that wire, and that will remove this module from the circuit. And if the unit fires up without making all that noise, then we know that something on this module went bad. So we open up the switch as well. And basically, I'm going to just take this black wire off, and I'm going to replace it with a wire from here over to here, and we'll disconnect the green wire as well. And that'll return this unit to stock, and we'll see what happens. We'll see whether it spins up. Green wire and the white wire and the black wire over here. Okay, that's got the module disconnected. I just got to get a piece of wire, put a piece of wire back in place of this. Wire's not quite long enough. Well, we'll make it fit for now, because it'll be going, the model will be going back in, I'm sure, once he gets into the module. We're just hooking this up to prove that this is our fault. That's a little quieter. Let's just mount the table again, and I'll play a record. Now, there's a good chance it's going to start up fast, which is quite often what happens with these 840 motors. Hence the reason for the mod. See, it's going to go real fast. If I That's better. So the problem with these motors is a lot of times they will start up faster than they're supposed to. That time it's going to start up at 33. But many times they will start fast. Like this time. And how you make it start at the right speed is you just stop it and start it again. When you see it's going to take off. So, start it up. It's either going to start at the right speed or it's going to start fast. It's going the correct speed this time, as you can see. How fast does it start? Well, we can put the RPM tester on there and see what it speeds up to. So we'll just start the turntable a few times. This time it's going to start to the correct speed. There we go. So this time it starts at 52. All you gotta do is just basically stop it, let it slow down a bit, and then start it up again. It'll lock in at the right speed. But there's a good chance that it's going to start fast. So then this is what you've got to do to get it to run. So what this little circuit did was it provided a delay. And it's all done in heat shrink. I'm not going to cut this open because I'm going to give it back to the guy. Maybe he can contact whoever he bought this from and say, hey, listen, the board that you sold me, it failed. So maybe he'll replace it for him. So I'm not going to cut into this thing to see what failed on it, but obviously somewhere in the circuitry something went bad and it's burned out. But as you can see, more times than not, these units spin up to the wrong speed. As you can see. Something to keep in mind if you're buying an old dual. If it has an SM 840 motor, most of them were bad. If it has an SM 840 motor, I would advise you not to buy one. And if the person selling doesn't know what it's got, or they refuse to tell you what it's got, then I would probably advise that it has an SM 840. And the 840s are very problematic. So that's a mod that went bad on this dual. So can't do anything more on this until a replacement module is got for it. Thanks for watching.